Welcome to The Entertainer. Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and trace the honestly pretty improbable, almost cinematic journey of a scrappy little video game chip startup, a company that didn't just survive the brutal dot-com era, but somehow figured out how to become the most valuable company on planet Earth. We're going to break down NVIDIA's entire history and explain exactly how they engineered this insane rise to become a multi-trillion-dollar juggernaut. To really grasp where we're headed on this journey, just look at this staggering number. $5 trillion. That's the market capitalization NVIDIA reached in late 2025, making them the first company ever to cross that line. I mean, it's a number so massive, it kind of breaks your standard financial comprehension, right? And the sheer magnitude of this is just wild. To put it in perspective, NVIDIA is worth over 11 times what legacy giant Intel is worth. But it goes way beyond just the tech sector. Their valuation is actually larger than the entire gross domestic products of whole countries, like Australia, South Korea, and even Russia. So the absolute crucial question we're answering today is this. How on earth did a company that originally just made graphics chips for 90s video games end up building the absolute bedrock of modern artificial intelligence? Like, how do you even get from a pixelated PC game to the neural networks running our modern world? Well, it starts with part one, the Denny's Diner startup. Picture this. It's 1993, and during a highly caffeinated meeting at a Denny's roadside diner in East San Jose, three frustrated engineers, Jensen Huang, Chris Malkowski, and Curtis Preem, decide to start a company. Now, they were working at solid places like LSI Logic and Sun Microsystems, but they saw a future nobody else was really taking seriously yet. They decided to bet absolutely everything on bringing 3D graphics to the budding PC video game market, betting that PCs were going to become the ultimate entertainment devices. But hey, every startup needs a name, right? Well, they actually didn't have one at first. They just named all their computer files NV for next version. Eventually, they literally scoured the dictionary for words containing those two letters and stumbled upon the Latin word for envy, NVIDIA. They tweaked it a bit, and the name NVIDIA was officially born. What's truly fascinating here is how close they came to dying in those early days. I mean, they launched in '93, but their first major chip, the NV1 in 1995, was a total catastrophic failure because it just didn't align with Microsoft's new standards. They had to lay off more than half their staff, dropping from 100 down to 40 employees. But somehow, they battled their way back with the wildly successful Revo 128 release, which actually led to an initial public offering by 1999. But let's zoom in on that near-death experience for a second, because it really defines their DNA. During their darkest moment, a Sega executive named Shoichiro Imajirigi actually had to cancel a major contract with NVIDIA. But he believed in their potential so much that he convinced Sega to throw NVIDIA a $5 million lifeline, just to keep them afloat. And he famously delivered this terrifyingly humorous condition to Jensen Huang to give them that runway. If you lose my money, I'll kill you. No pressure, right? Well, that $5 million bought them exactly 6 months, and this intense back-against-the-wall pressure birthed their unofficial company motto. Our company is 30 days from going out of business. It drove them to release that Revo 128 chip when they literally had just 1 month of payroll left in the bank. And guess what? They sold 1 million units in 4 months, and the whole company was saved. That brings us to part two, inventing the GPU. Taking them from a surviving startup to a true industry pioneer. Late 1999 saw the release of the GeForce 256, and with this, they officially coined the term GPU, or Graphics Processing Unit. Now, this wasn't just some slick marketing term. This hardware added massive programmability to computing acceleration. It essentially supercharged a computer's processing abilities by handling multiple tasks at the exact same time just to render those complex 3D images. Which sets up part three perfectly, the billion-dollar CUDA gamble. So what was the gamble? It was called CUDA. Invented in 2006, this was a software platform and interface that let programmers use NVIDIA's graphics chips to do complex general-purpose math. So instead of just rendering polygons for video games, the GPU could suddenly process enormous amounts of general data simultaneously. This is what's known as parallel computing. Now, the absolutely crucial point to understand here is the extreme risk this carried. NVIDIA diverted huge resources away from their highly profitable gaming business to chase a high-performance computing market that practically didn't even exist yet. They added heavy overhead, they had to hire all these researchers, and they totally confused their investors on Wall Street, who really just wanted them to stick to making video game chips.
But that pivot leads right into part 4, powering the AI revolution. That unbelievable gamble honestly just sat quietly in the background for years, right up until AI researchers suddenly realized something massive. NVIDIA's GPUs, powered by that CUDA software, were perfectly designed for deep learning neural networks. It accelerated machine learning by a factor of 100. Realizing exactly what was happening, Jensen Huang personally hand-delivered the world's first AI supercomputer, the DGX, to a little startup you might have heard of called OpenAI. And that is the spark for Part 5, the trillion-dollar juggernaut. Because NVIDIA controlled the critical hardware required to build generative AI, their revenue spike was just astronomical. Back in 2018, they were making a very respectable $9.7 billion. By 2024, as the AI boom really took hold, that jumped to almost $61 billion. And then, driven by this insatiable data center demand, their fiscal year 2026 earnings hit an unbelievable $215.9 billion. And obviously, following that insane revenue, their valuation shattered basically every historical record on Wall Street. They jumped from a $1 trillion valuation in May 2023 to becoming the world's first $5 trillion company by October 2025. You guys, they achieved in less than 2.5 years what took other tech giants literal decades to accomplish. They didn't just grow either. They absolutely dominated the space. By early 2025, NVIDIA held a staggering 92% share of the discrete GPU market. Think about that. All of their competitors combined were left fighting over the remaining 8%. They became the undisputed monopoly of the AI hardware era. And they certainly haven't stopped pushing the boundaries into 2026. They rolled out their new Vera Rubin AI architecture to succeed their Blackwell chips. Plus, they signed an unprecedented $100 billion circular investment agreement with OpenAI, and they even launched Earth 2, which is this incredible open-source weather forecasting AI platform. But hey, the journey isn't without its extreme challenges. Take early 2025, for instance, when a Chinese AI startup named DeepSeek developed an advanced AI model using way less computing power than the industry standard. This sent a massive shockwave of panic through investors regarding future chip demand, and it actually caused a historic $600 billion drop in NVIDIA stock in just a single day. Yet despite that kind of wild market volatility, NVIDIA's core philosophy really remains intact. It's perfectly summarized by Jensen Huang's grand strategy. See, they didn't start with AI. They used video game profits as an incredible flywheel to fund the wildly expensive R&D that ultimately solved immense computational problems and built the entire foundation of the AI era. So, as we wrap up this explainer and look at NVIDIA's absolute dominance today, we have to ask ourselves a pretty profound question. What does it actually mean for our world and our economy when a single company holds the keys to the entire future of artificial intelligence? It's a massive question, and it's one we'll all be watching unfold. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep exploring.